If you're talking to a stylist who may be watching right now, who is that person? Like, oh my God, I'm burnt out because I don't know how to set boundaries, or just for anyone, even if you
Yeah.
do, how do you find navigating boundaries without sounding harsh? For example, what people want to talk about behind the chair, we didn't have to deal with that when I came into hair back in 1990, the 1900s, I say. you know, I how do you set boundaries? Because I find this tough. When people want to talk about the Epstein files, ICE, I'm like, oh, sweet Lord, please. Like, I really, honest
Pivot.
to
Um,
God, I don't want
just
to.
become Ross from Friends and just say pivot, pivot.
I
Like,
love
just
that.
pivot, pivot. So I have certain clients that I will talk about certain things with, and I have certain clients that I will not talk about certain things with. But also, I've pretty much established my salon to be like no religion, no politics. Like, keep the spicy shit at home, or like have a private conversation outside of the salon. But I don't think it's right to allow someone to dictate the entire salon's vibe. Pretty much everyone who works in my salon, we all have, I would say, like-minded beliefs. So we don't have any spicy people here in that capacity. If we did, that would probably be a different thing. But that's because I've established the boundary when you join my salon is I say, pay your rent and don't be an asshole. And then I say, what you post online is a reflection of me, the salon, and every single other person who works here. So if you don't want somebody else's business to be affected by what you're talking about, whether it be in person or online or anywhere, then don't do it. You are a representation of all of us. So I think because I've cultivated a culture around that, we don't deal with that as much. But I do, and I have had some clients sometimes that really want to talk about it, and you're like, I agree with you, why are you yelling at me? Like, why? It's like those people, whether you agree with them or not, sometimes you need to pivot them off of it too, and you just have to start going into life. Hell, excuse yourself for a second. Say you got to go mix up more color, you don't like the consistency of your bleach, take a sec, walk away for a second. And I don't care
Yeah.
if you don't feel like you have a minute to walk away. If you don't, who fucking cares? Like, it's not that deep. You shouldn't be stuck in a conversation
That you don't want to be in.
that you don't want to be in, but also you don't know how to change the subject politely or eloquently. So walk away for a second. Excuse yourself. You're not glued to the floor. Like, if you're not a tree, move, right? Like, you can physically move yourself. So if you don't know how to change the subject, just be like, oh, hold on one second. I just got to go. I have to go and get this thing. They don't know.
Yeah,
They don't know
yeah,
what they
I
don't
know.
know. So you
It's
can
true.
move.
You can.
That's my advice about getting off of spice. I call them spicy topics because they're spicy one way or
And
the other.
yeah, and me, I just kind of go, oh, yeah. And I'll say, you said you were traveling next week.
Yes.
So, that's what I
Yes.
do. I'm like, girl, I am not going to sit here and talk to you about what gives me anxiety when I'm
Yeah.
reading it in the news or watching the
Yeah.
news. I want to do it here. I
Yeah.
just don't. So
Sometimes
what
I
would
say to
you
clients, I'll be like, I was like, I totally understand, but I was like, and you almost pivot it. You'd be like, you got to be careful about how much of that you absorb. Like, you have to almost
Yeah,
like
I love that.